Sorry, I forget. I'm too nervous. Don't think about them. It's about me. Thank you.
In 1966, the United Nations declared March 21st as the International Day to Eliminate Racial Discrimination. In celebration of that, the Central Vancouver Island Multicultural Society is launching an exhibit here at the Port Theatre lobby called Journey to Inclusion. That's where we are today on Go. Coming up today on Go, the old schoolhouse in Qualicum Beach, a cultural centerpiece, in addition to the McLean Mill historic site and green tea jello. That and more today on Go. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4, and today we are in the Port Theatre lobby in downtown Nanaimo for Journey to Inclusion. It's an art exhibit where someone in our community who has been the victim of discrimination or exclusion is paired with an artist who then portrays their story in artistic form. We're going to look at some of those results and hear some of those stories later on this edition of Go Island. The old schoolhouse in Qualicum Beach is a heritage building. It's 100 years old, and for the last 25 years it has been the artistic hub of Qualicum Beach. Rayanne has that story. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Hindi Schlosser is the Executive Director of the Central Vancouver Island Multicultural Society. A very significant day, March 21st.
Yes, it is.
What happened in 1960 on March 21st?
In 1960 in South Africa, there was a student demonstration and many students were killed. They were demonstrating apartheid, and as a result of that, in Sharpeville, as a result of that, the United Nations declared it the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination.
The exhibit that's here is called Journey to Inclusion, and it matches an artist with someone who has experienced discrimination. How is the pairing of those two people moving forward to a society of inclusion?
How is that pairing? I think that as you probably heard some of them talk, they really talked about their own personal experience in meeting someone and having to create, for the artist to create a work of art around a topic they might not have any knowledge of or experience with, a life experience that is unfamiliar to them. And for the participants to actually be able to share their stories and see it displayed or expressed in a work of art, I think was a very powerful moment. And I think that's one of those little steps. I mean, the people here today looking at this exhibit are just getting a taste of what that means, moving from racism to inclusion. But that process is really one step at a time for every individual.
And one of the things that came to my mind being here was that a lot of the people in this room are open and accepting, and have already taken small or big steps to accepting and celebrating everyone in their differences. But the people who maybe need a little more help aren't here today. How do we get to those people?
Yeah. I wouldn't be so sure of that in this case. I think a few people wandered in because they didn't know what was going on here and there was a crowd. And yeah, it's always true that you tend to preach to the converted.
Exactly.
And it's something we struggle with. But with some of our initiatives lately, we've included the arts more to just draw in and open up a little more than that and maybe not make the conversation quite as frightening. What happens to people, I think, is they may want to participate in something and recognize that they have some of their own stereotypes, stereotypical views, but they're afraid of being challenged, and they're afraid of you know, being called a racist or someone who's biased. And I think that we all need to have this conversation together, and we need to do it in a compassionate way and support each other through the process. So I'm hoping that more and more people will come out. Being here in the theater, a lot of people are going to see the works over the next month, and that's exciting.
Hildy, thank you for everything that you do. I know listening to all of the teams speak today, there are stereotypes that come into my mind, and I catch myself, and admitting those and having conversations with people about them is a small step towards making a truly very inclusive society. The exhibit Journey to Inclusion runs here at the Port Theatre for an entire month, so that's until April the 21st, and then the city will be finding a permanent home for this exhibit in the coming weeks. We're going to throw things over now to Kelly Robinson. She's on Gabriola Island. It's a story we call Chalk It Up. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're here at the opening for Journey to Inclusion, an exhibit from the Central Vancouver Island Multicultural Society. This is Daniel Elliker. He's a community participant, which means what?
Community participant is anyone in the community of Nanaimo who has experienced discrimination as a result of any stigmatized identity.
And you said you still stigmatize yourself by calling yourself a gay man. And
I don't invite it, but
okay.
I need to own my identity as a gay man. Otherwise, I really don't have a voice in the face of discrimination.
Okay.
And I need to challenge the stigma that exists and that not everyone has, but which is very present in society, by asserting my identity as a gay man and embracing that wholly.
You said you were a little bit scared at first. I mean, it's one thing to have a conversation one-on-one and
yes.
publicly,
yes.
and to do an artwork that is going to be permanently displayed for people that you don't know to see. Why is that scarier than a one-on-one?
Well, this is definitely the first time that I've participated in a community art project, and the focus is very much personal. Focus is very much on my experiences and some moments of my life that have been delicate and intimate and difficult to talk about and experience. So for me, it's been definitely a healing experience.
So you're glad you did it?
I'm very glad I did it.
I
was apprehensive at first, but I'm very glad that I did it because it's allowed me to have the space to explore some of these issues on my own, and also to have an ally in the artist to explore that issue with and to turn that into something beautiful and exciting and something that can generate discussion, hopefully. So,
final question. You were very proud, a big announcement, a big day in British Columbia yesterday, and
yes.
It's going to give you an opportunity to share it even wider.
Well, I believe it was it was voted on federally. So for the first time in Canadian history, trans people, so transgender, transsexual, and otherwise identified people are recognized under the law as being entitled to be free of discrimination in their lives. And that has been a long time in the coming. So as an ally of trans-identified people, I felt it was very important that I acknowledge that today.
Thank you for sharing. So
thank you very much.
Good luck. Thank you. We're going to throw things over now to a short break, and we'll be back with more on this edition of Go Island. Still ahead today on Go Island, a large addition at McLean's Mill Historic Site in Port Alberni, and green tea jello with your island chef. That and more still ahead today on Go Island. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4, and we're here at the Port Theatre lobby where Journey to Inclusion is just kicking off, and it will be on display here until April the 21st, a fabulous project put together by the Central Vancouver Island Multicultural Society. As you've driven along the roads of Vancouver Island, you've no doubt passed a logging truck or two, but in the Alberni Valley, Nancy Wilmot tracks a logging truck carrying a very unique, a very large load of wood to the McLean National Historic Site. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. I'm Kate Bergen. This is Sam Hyupas. He is one of the artists participating, one of 8, in the exhibit Journey to Inclusion. Tell us a little bit about your piece that you've created.
The piece that I created is a rattle, and I shaped it in the shape of a canoe, and it has 2 figures on the back. One of the figures in the back represents where West Africa is. They make their masks similar in
similar styling,
in shape. It's so
okay.
subtle, and the spiritual value of the rattle is highly important in my culture, and the figure in front is praying to the Creator, and we call it Tsutsikin.
Okay.
And Tsutsikin means talking to the Creator, but it means more in a deeper level than just to talk to the Creator.
Did this project go deep for you?
The project went a lot deeper than I had imagined, as I joined up because I like to have my carving, my art, kind of tell a story to educate people about me or my culture or my people in one respect or another. So I got into the project with all these thoughts in my head, and it turned around once I became more familiar with Mamadou. And
we can't really do it justice without saying who was the person that you were teamed up with.
I was teamed up with Mamadou and I from West Africa.
You learned a lot, he learned a lot.
Yes, we learned a lot about each other and about our cultures, the similarities, and
what do you think
about respect too.
What do you think we need to do briefly, a huge question, small amount of time, to make our society inclusive and stop this discrimination that is all too prevalent? Is there an answer?
I think the only answer to that is, like, this is the beginning of with this project Journey to Inclusion. If we continue to develop multicultural projects where we not only learn about other people's cultures, but they learn about ours as well.
Sharing.
Yeah.
Sharing. Thank you. We're just touching the tip of the iceberg here. If you want to learn more, come down to the Port Theatre lobby and witness for yourself Journey to Inclusion. It'll be here until April the 21st. We're going to throw things over now to our island chef. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. We've only talked to one participant and one artist today. There are 8 participants and 8 artists in total. Each work is two-sided. Half of the work is on the inside of the Port Theatre lobby. The other half you can see from the outside, and the stories are posted beside each piece. Come on down to the Port Theatre. Visit Journey to Inclusion here until April the 21st. Thanks for watching this edition of Go Island. Out of time. We'll see you next time.